What's going on, everyone? Today we are taking a look at a new portable power station. This is the Bluetti AC300, and right below that I have two B300K expansion batteries. So taking a look at some of the specs for the AC300, this has a 3000 watt power handling, a 2400 watt solar charging input, and a very good 4-year warranty. As a quick note, this does not have a battery inside of it, and you do need to connect it to a battery like the ones I have here. Looking at some of the specs for the B300K, this has a 2764.8 watt hour battery capacity, a long life of 4,000 plus cycles, and is compatible with the Bluetti AC500, AC300, AC200L, and AC200 Max. All right, so the reason why I got this setup is to power my new solar shed that I just had built. Right here, I only have two batteries, but this is very expandable as well. For these two batteries, right now I have 5,529.6 watt hours. And another good thing I really like about these is their operating temperature, which works at very hot and very cold temperatures. So this can discharge at -4 Fahrenheit all the way up to 104 Fahrenheit, which is perfect for me because, like I said, I have this inside of a shed. I'm not going to have this heated or cooled all the time, as that's going to be very expensive. I'm basically just going to heat it and cool it when I'm in here. It's only a 16 by 16 shed, so it shouldn't take that long to heat or cool. And this should definitely be more than enough than I need. As I just said, this is very expandable. So with one unit, you can get a little over 11,059 watt hours. That's 4 batteries total. But if you have two AC300s, you can hook them both up together with 4 batteries each. So that's 8 batteries total. And this will give you a very large 22,118 watt hours and also put out a maximum of 6,000 watts. Truthfully, I don't need that much, especially for a shed. So I'll probably stop somewhere around 3 or 4 batteries, depending on how these hold up with these along with the solar that I plan to put on top of the shed. Another thing I really like about these Bluetti products is everything here is UL listed. Yes, you can get some power stations that are cheaper, but if it's not UL listed, that's the kind of stuff that you see on the news that where the battery starts on fire, or if it's not that extreme, a lot of times these not UL listed products will burn out or just stop working very soon after. But when you have something like this that is UL listed, it's put through several different tests and it has to pass through a lot of tests to get that UL certification. So while you can get cheaper power stations, personally, I would not recommend it and would recommend sticking with something like this that has that UL certification. Last but not least, these are LifePool 4 batteries that are rated to have 4,000 plus cycles. And this is going to give you a very long 10 to 15 years of usage out of these batteries. All right, so this is my shed right here. It's about 9 p.m., so you can't see it very well except for the windows and lights coming out of it. But what I'm going to do is go inside and plug in everything one by one. There's a computer, Google Home, router, a bunch of small things, and then I also have an air conditioner as well. This way we can see how long a power station with 2 batteries can power all of this. Maybe this will give you a better idea of what it can do in your house, or maybe you want to use it for your garage or a solar shed like the one I have here. All right, so before we dive into all the tests, let's go ahead and take a look at the AC300. Just like any other Bluetti power station, definitely a very well-made unit. The outside is mostly plastic, but it's a very thick and durable plastic that should last a good amount of time. As I said earlier, this does not have a battery inside of it. So if you buy this, you do need to buy a battery with it as well. Right here, I have it with the B300K, but there are a few other batteries that are compatible with this as well. So taking a look at the ports, right over here you have your DC outputs, and this is a 12 volt 30 amp, and over here you have a 20 volt 10 amps. Right down here you have several different AC outlets. You have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 20 amp AC outlets, and then you also have a 30 amp outlet as well. Up here you have your USB ports, and you have a 100 watt USB-C port, and then 4 USB-A ports. The ones over here are 18 watts and the ones over here are 5 volts and 3 amps. Bit of a tight squeeze on this side thanks to where I have it, but over here you have your ports for the expansion batteries, your AC input, DC input, then your communications line if you connect 2 of these together. Then as you can see right down here on each one of these B300K batteries, they have a total of 2 ports. So I only have one cable coming from the AC300 and that connects to one battery. and then the other battery has another cable jumping it over to the second battery. And last but not least, you do have a full touchscreen interface here in the middle. It's not the prettiest when it comes to graphics, but it's very bright and also very responsive as well. So honestly, I have no complaints there. Right here in the middle, you have your battery percentage, and that does account for both batteries I have connected as well. Over here, you have your DC load, AC load, and up top, you have your solar input and then your grid input. Down here, you have your buttons to turn the AC and DC on or off. So you just click on that, click on, turns on just like that. Click it again, turn it off. Coming over here, you have a bunch of different settings you can choose from. This is definitely a lot more settings than most other power stations have. Most power stations have these settings, but you gotta go in the app to mess with them. But here you have all of them right here on the screen. So I'm not gonna go through every one of them, but I'll just read them all really quick. So you got AC output voltage, AC output frequency, DC1 and DC2 input source. Next page, eco mode, machine type. As I said earlier, you can connect two of these to get a split phase bonding to give you 240 volts. You have working mode where you can choose from standard UPS, time control UPS, PV priority, and customize. Silent mode, max grid input, PV parallel enable, Bluetooth, Bluetooth state, Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi state, buzzer setting, touch sound, backlight brightness. This screen definitely gets very bright, so I just leave it right there around the middle, which is perfect. Date setting, time setting, sleep time, and resource factory settings. So a lot of built-in settings. Once again, good to see that, as you don't need to mess with the app and you can do it right there from the unit itself. So really quick, I want to show you how my shed is wired. So right here I have an inlet, and you can see one side of the extension cord goes into that. And then right here I have an outlet. This goes to my grid power. Well, not directly to the grid power. I have another one of these outside, which I have to an extension cord that bridges off my garage power. So in this case, to power the entire shed off of the power station, all I gotta do is move this cord here, which grabs everything from my shed, plug it over here, and then now the power station will be running my shed. So throughout the video, as I'm plugging things in, everything will be going directly to this from the shed. I do have a bunch of outlets all around the shed, but essentially this is just a large extension cord that all leads right back to this inlet here. All right, so I just moved it over to the power station. The only thing that's plugged in right now is my Eero router. And as you can see, it's only pulling 3.5 watts. So let's go ahead and start switching things on and see what kind of watts they draw. First off, we have the ceiling fan light, and then I also switched on the fan as well. This has 5 LED bulbs in it, and these also have built-in Wi-Fi, so that should draw a little more than the regular average bulb as well. So now with the light, router, and fan, we're only drawing 78 watts. Let's go ahead and turn on the other light. And now this is 8 different can lights. And these also have built-in Wi-Fi as well. And now that has bumped us up to 170 watts. Just plugged in this Google Home Max. And I know this is all very small stuff, but I want to just plug in all the regular things so we can see what a typical office setup would draw. All right, so now we're at 184 watts, 183, about there. USB-C phone charger, charging a phone, up to 204 watts. Room fan, just set it on to max. They shouldn't draw much, but we'll see. Now we're up to 225 watts. All right, so I got my gaming laptop connected. As you can see here, the battery is at 1%. I got 4 4K videos running, so this is not only going to keep charging the laptop, but also run a decent load as well. And that has now bumped the power station up to about 325 watts-ish, 320. So with all of this plugged in, this is pretty much a typical office setup. If you have a full desktop PC, maybe at about 200 watts. So all in all, lights, router, Google Home, laptop, a fan, should only draw about 500 to 600 watts total, which is going to be an extreme piece of cake for this power station. So let me go ahead and hook up the air conditioner now, which is going to be the main load for this entire test. Since this was just completed and fall's already almost over, I don't actually have an air conditioner inside the shed, but I do have one inside the garage that I leave year round. You can see it right here sticking out the window. So what I did is ran an extension cord all the way from the AC, which as you can see I have right here. This is a 14,000 BTU air conditioner, which also has an inverter. So it's not going to run at 14,000 BTU the entire time. As soon as this place gets up to temp, which usually takes about an hour That's when it'll drop down to a lower voltage, and then from there kind of scale up and down as cooling power is needed. So like I said, I have an extension cord, runs all the way out here, and then I have it kind of ghetto, ran into the window of the shed right here. And just so you can see, I don't have any funny business going on. Coming in from the window, comes right down here, and then right here into the power station. So as you can see now, we're now pulling 761 watts. I don't think the compressor has fully kicked on yet, so let me wait a few minutes, and then I'll show you what the actual load is going to be. While we're waiting for that to kick on, one thing I forgot to mention is this power station, like I said earlier, does have UPS function. So if you have your office and all your essentials connected, whenever the power goes off, everything will stay on as the power will automatically switch from the grid over to the power station, so you don't lose any data and everything that you have stays on and powered. One thing I just noticed is we're pulling a little over 800 watts and there's absolutely no noise and no fans from the batteries or the power station. So if you're running this with a lighter load, it will be completely silent. But in my experience with other Bluetti power stations, even when it is running at max and the fans turn on, they are still very, very quiet power stations. In general, you just hear the air moving and there's no noise from the fan or whiny noise that a lot of other cheaper power stations often have. All right, so right now it's hovering between about 800 to 850 watts. As I said, the air conditioner does fluctuate. On its own, it can draw up to about 1400 watts. I don't feel like waiting for it the entire time to see if it jumps up, so I'm just gonna let this run for a while. I'll come back in about 2 hours and see where it's at. I do have it hooked up to my watt meter right here. As you can see, we've been running for about 30 minutes, and so far it's only pulled about 192 watt hours. So once this is all done, we'll see how long it runs and then the total watt hours we got out of these two batteries as well. Another reason I really like this power station for my shed is its Wi-Fi connectivity. So if this didn't have Wi-Fi, anytime I wanted to know the battery percentage, how much is being drawn, or what kind of solar charging I'm getting, I would have to physically come out here and look at the screen myself. But since this has the Wi-Fi connectivity, all I gotta do is open up the app and I can see all the information right here in the app. And since this is a Wi-Fi app, I can check this from inside my house, across town, or even all across the world if I wanted to. So definitely a very cool feature to have that makes managing a power station that is not in your house a whole lot easier. All right, so checking back in, as you can see, it's been 2 hours and 35 minutes. We've drawn 1,679 watt hours, and we have 65% battery left, drawing only 732 watts right now. Unfortunately, this wasn't the perfect day to do an air conditioner test. As you can see right now outside, it's only 64 degrees. I had the air conditioner set to 60, so it's only managing about a 4-degree difference. And that's also why it's not pulling that much power when it's 90 something outside. As I said, it goes up to about 1,400 watts. But since it's not that cold, it's only working at a very low level. So as a side note, if you're gonna run an air conditioner off a power station, definitely get one that's inverter based, as that's gonna be a whole lot more efficient. My current air conditioner is only 120 volts, but in the future, my plan is to put a 240 volt mini split in here. That's where I'll need to get a second one of these. As I said earlier, you can hook up 2 of these to get split phase bonding. And then that's gonna also bring my output up to 6,000 watts. Realistically, I'm never gonna need 6,000 watts in this shed. I'm barely gonna touch 2,000 watts if I'm running everything plus the AC all at once. But nice to have that power backup. And then that also allows me to run stuff in the garage, or if I have a power failure, I can just run an extension cord and run a bunch of stuff in my house as well. Another plan that I have with this shed is to throw 1,200 watts of solar panels up on my roof. I already have the panels, but as I just said, it's already fall and my solar output's probably not going to be that good. After getting everything set up in the shed and doing all the labor me and my wife have to do, I really don't feel like tackling another project of wiring and setting up all those panels. So that's something I'm going to save for the springtime. But once I get those installed, that's definitely going to help this out a whole lot more. Because as you can see right here, I'm only drawing 700 watts. If this is summertime and I have the air conditioner running higher, it's going to be about 1,600 watts with 1,200 watts solar. On a good day, I'm assuming it's probably going to get about 900 watts on average. So that should offset the majority of my load. And instead of having 2.39 hours with 64%, that'll probably last twice as long, if not 3 times as long, since that solar input is going to be offsetting a large portion of the load. And then if you want to go a little crazier, as I said earlier, this does support 2400 watts of solar. So if you have that many solar panels with this power station, you're going to be able to run this off very high powered appliances, and it's still going to give you a very good runtime. Last but not least, this also has up to 5,400 watts of maximum charging. That's 3,000 watts on the AC side and then 2,400 watts on the solar side. With a basic 15 amp outlet like mine, you're not going to be able to get something that high. But if you have a higher powered outlet, that's when you're going to be able to take advantage of that 3,000 watts of maximum AC charging. So it looks like it's probably going to run for another 3 hours or so. Right now we're at 2 hours and 43 minutes. We still have 63% remaining. So I guess I'm just going to let it run and we'll come back to it when it's at 0. I did test this battery already. So if you check out my channel, I have another video with the Bluetti AC300L with this battery. And that combination put out 4,625 watt hours, which was a usable capacity of 96%. So these are definitely very efficient units. A lot of other power stations barely touch 80%. There's a whole bunch that do 70 to 75%. Every Bluetti power station I've tested so far is somewhere in the low 90s or high 90s, which is definitely some of the best performance out there when it comes to power stations like this. All right, so it just died out not too long ago, and as you can see, it ran for a very good 7 hours and 35 minutes and put out a total of 5,130 watt hours. Doing the math, that gives this a usable capacity of 92.7%. This was done with a lower wattage at a longer runtime. So if I were to run this at about 1700 watts and up, I could definitely see this getting about 95% instead. So yeah, definitely a very good runtime. Once I add the solar panels onto this, I should get somewhere around 10 to 13 hours, depending on how much sun is out there. I'll see in the springtime if I need a little more, but I think these 2 batteries should be good. Worst case scenario, I might pick up a 3rd battery, and that'll definitely have me covered for any uses I'll have in this shed. Once again, as I said earlier, if you do need more power, you can pick up an additional AC300 unit and a bunch of additional batteries as well to build this all the way up to a little over 22,000 watt hours. All right, so taking a look at the app, this is what it looks like. I went over this app several other times in other Bluetti videos I've done, but this is definitely one of my favorite apps out there. So taking a look at the main screen, right here in the middle, you have your total battery percentage. Up here, you have your inputs. Right here is your solar. Over here, you have grid power. You have your DC output and you have your AC output. As you can see right now, it's putting out 686 watts. Right down here, you have your toggles, AC and DC. Very simple, not much going on the front page, but it has all the information you could need. Coming down here, you have your battery pack information. As I showed earlier, I have 2 batteries connected right now, and it shows me pack 2, 63%, and then pack 3, 61%, and this can be up to 4 different batteries. I have the batteries connected to the second port of the power stations. That's why it says pack 2, but it doesn't matter. You can use either one. It'll just show you pack 1 or pack 2. So diving into the settings, as I said earlier, this is a Wi-Fi based app, but if you wanted to, you can also change it to Bluetooth mode. This might be better if you're out in the woods somewhere camping, or maybe you're just in front of the unit and you don't have very good Wi-Fi connection. That's where Bluetooth would be the better option. You have working mode. You can choose between standard UPS, PV priority, time control, customized UPS. As I said earlier, a lot of these settings are already in the power station, which is a lot more convenient in my opinion. You have auto sleep mode, which you can change from 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, or never. You have your update. When I got this, it did have several different updates for all the different things here. So it's good to see that they are still updating it as they go. Then you have advanced settings where it has your max charging and then your grid self-adaption. If you don't know much about power or you don't have any reasons to mess with this, I would recommend just leave that alone. And that's about it for the app. Overall, a simple but very easy to use app. And like I said, one of my favorite apps when it comes to portable power stations. Overall, this is definitely a great power station. It performs a lot better than most of its competition. It's very flexible with the option to make a small setup or a very large one as well. All in all, if you happen to be shopping for a medium to large size power station, I would highly recommend this combination here, which is the Bluetti AC300 and the Bluetti B300K. If you would like more information, I also put the links to both of these in the description as well. All right, well, that all wraps up this video. As usual, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.